partners, as you know, some of the greatest American patriots were simply average people who did something that changed America for the better, oftentimes without even knowing it. This week, my researcher and writer, Dennis Daly, has come up with not just one, but two of the greatest Americans that we've ever heard of. They've saved thousands of lives just because they noticed something interesting on the radar screen back in 1948. You see, our two honorees this week were both Air Force officers. They worked at Tinker Air Force Base in the state in which I spent much of my early life, Oklahoma. Tinker is just outside of Oklahoma City. Their names were Captain Robert C. Miller and Major Ernest Fallbush. They were at the desk for the sprawling Air Force Base on the afternoon of March the 20th, 1948, when a tornado rushed through the area. That tornado absolutely destroyed nearly 120 aircraft, doing more than $10 million in damage. After the winds died down, the commanding officer of the base called in the two forecasters. Captain Miller and Fallbush didn't have a good answer to the one question the guy asked. He said, "Where were you two guys when that tornado almost blew us up?" It was early times and no radar wasn't good, and neither were the forecasters. Now, partner, here's where American magic moment comes in. Less than a week later, another huge storm front approached the air base. Suddenly, both Miller and Fallbush smiled and looked at each other. They each reached the same conclusion at the same time. It was as if two weathermen had been struck by lightning. Hey, you see, both had noticed that on their radar, in the leading edge of the oncoming storm, was a peculiar pattern. We might call it a signature. Both had seen it only once before. They commented about it at the time. They were again seeing the same signature of the storm that had devastated the base less than a week before. These men immediately took the biggest gamble of their lives. They called the commanding officer and told him that they knew another tornado was coming. The man said, "Twice in 1 week?" Their boss asked, and the man said, "Yes." Trusting the pair, the commanding officer quickly ordered that everything be tied down. What do you know? A second tornado touched down at the same place that it hit only 5 days prior. Lightning had struck in the same place twice. And because of their keen eyes and what they saw on radar, this second time around, the two airmen had sent out the nation's first ever tornado warning. They shared their information with other weather bureaus. Suddenly, the Weather Bureau had a new tool in recognizing the approach of a tornado. Since that time, thousands of tornadoes have been recognized from their signature on radar. Thousands of warnings have been going out. Thousands of lives have been saved. So let's say their names again. Captain Robert C. Miller and Major Ernest Fallbush, Fawbush. They were true American patriots because they were smart enough to do the right thing instantly. Wow. The first ever tornado warning on March the 26th, 1948 in Oklahoma. Oh, golly. Bless your hearts. Looking up there and find that little spot up there. Click that button and you'll come back to the report page and see exactly where we are now. Unbelievable. Tornado warnings. Okay, I love you. Go get 'em, Tiger.